All right, thank you everybody for getting on here. I'm just going to post this link out here on my social media, and then we will get started and take a look at what is going on across Western Washington this evening, and of course over the next few days. All right, welcome everyone to tonight's live stream. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Western Washington Weather. I just got over 1,000 subscribers, so that has been pretty exciting. So thank you to all of my subscribers for being a part of this and for following along. So let's get started by just kind of taking a look at what is going on across the region right now. So we're looking at the radar, and that's just what we're going to start with here. We're just going to look at this. You can see we've had a pretty persistent band of snow there across parts of the east side of the metro area. They're really out more toward the suburbs. You can see places like, we'll stop this and take a look at current radar. You can see places like Issaquah, Snoqualmie, Carnation, up toward Duval and Monroe, all the way up toward the Oso and Jordan areas just east of Arlington there, getting some snow out of this band. And then you can see we have some other showers here toward Bremerton, Port Orchard, and then down toward Anderson Island and outside Olympia. And then we have another area of showers starting to move north here through Eatonville and Graham and parts of South Hill and Puyallup there. Let me see if I can put on the reports feature so we can see what people are reporting. There we go. Let me turn those on. All right, so there you can see that we have all of these reports here, so you can see what's going on across the area here. You can see we got some snow reports out there by Sammamish and Carnation, and up by Sultan and Monroe there, and then a snow report. Let's see how recent that was. Only about 30 minutes ago there near Olympia. So as we're looking at this, be sure to chime in the chat with what you're seeing and ask questions, because we've got a lot to talk about here over the next few days with what type of weather we're expecting. So we can also take a look here while we're looking at the radar. Let's just take a look at what's going on out here on the coast. We're looking at our coastal radar there. You can see that we have some showers starting to move in. Let's take a look at how these showers are moving here. As this loads up here, you can see we have some showers off the coast, some showers moving in the northern Oregon coast toward Centralia and Chehalis there. This is taking a really long time to load, but these showers are moving to the north, and that's what we know. So let's take a look kind of at some of the forecasts that we were looking at earlier and see what the forecast models were showing at this time. So it is currently 5:55 p.m. So if we go to about 6 p.m. there, you can see that the NAM model had this large band of snow across the entirety of the metro area there, basically from parts of Lewis County all the way up toward Bellingham. That is not exactly happening right now, but it is pretty close. We can refresh to see if we're getting any new data in there. Oh, the 0Z NAM is running, so let's take a look at that. You can see it's actually doing quite well there, showing that band off to the east of the metro area. And then let's see what it does over the next couple hours. By 11 p.m., it starts to show some pretty widespread snow that moves through there. Only about 14 hours out here. So let me catch up on the chat here. Unofficial Washington State Wildfire Aware, thank you for joining us. So lucky in Duval, accumulating on roads with big flakes. Yep, that confirms what we were seeing on the radar here, that the Duval area was getting some snow. We can take a look at that. Here you can see Duval's going to be right in here. Some heavy precipitation falling there. DJK says flurries currently in Snoqualmie Ridge. That would be right out here toward the North Bend area. And then you can see that this band just keeps going all the way up across parts of Snohomish County there. Krista there, I see in the chat, you said finally getting some snow in Snohomish County. Snow shadow was quite a bummer yesterday. It was. There were some areas that definitely got nothing over the last couple days. See, check King County cameras, and you can see what is going on. Okay, let's take a look at that. I don't really know these very well. Let's take a look at the King County cameras. Okay. So traffic cameras in unincorporated King County. All right, let's take a look at these here. Let's go down towards some of the... Right, there's a Novelty Hill Road. You can see there. Let's keep going. Oh, there we go. Okay, so Novelty Hill Road is Snoqualmie Valley Road. That is down in the Snoqualmie Valley there. I know what this is. You can see that snow is starting to stick to the sides of the roads there, maybe starting to accumulate on the roads. You can see there Novelty Hill Road. Again, this is the same angle, different camera there. And then see Snoqualmie Valley there. You can see some snow on the road there. Let's take a look at the map. That might help us out a little bit. So here, now we can take a look at this a little bit better. So you can see here, it is starting to snow, starting to stick to the sides of the roads there. Carnation Duval Road, Highway 203 there near 124th Street. And you can see, we go up toward Duval there. You can see, look at that. That's a pretty heavy snow right there outside of Duval. So, and then if we go to some other areas, you can see down here toward Issaquah, Hobart Road, you got a little bit of snow on the side of the road there, but nothing actively accumulating. We'll keep looking at these throughout the live stream. Let's take a look at what we could expect in terms of snow accumulations tonight, and we'll see how the forecasts are doing with that. This is the latest run of the NAM model, and you can see as we go through about 7 to 8 a.m. Tuesday there, it shows about an inch of snow potentially up some of the I-5 corridor up there by the Snoqualmie Valley, and then showing a bit of a heavier band there stretching from the north Kitsap Peninsula all the way up toward Whidbey Island there. You can see up to 2 inches there, maybe around parts of Whidbey Island and the northern Kitsap Peninsula. And then look at this feature it's showing there, up to 5 inches on potentially on some of the San Juan Islands. That is that would be significant for those areas. We can also zoom out here and we can look. So we want to make sure I'm including Southwest Washington there. You can see some potential snow for parts of Southwest Washington, maybe about a ½ inch to an inch or so down there. Excuse me, in the Kelso Longview area there up towards Chehalis a little bit. We can compare this to the high-resolution rapid refresh model, and we can see how they are a little bit different. We'll play this through for the high-resolution rapid refresh, and it is definitely showing that band over Whidbey Island there, showing 2.5 inches for Whidbey Island there, and we can see when that falls. That would be in the next few hours here, about 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there, over the next few hours, that we could potentially get some heavy snow for parts of Whidbey Island, accumulating up to 2.5 inches. So if you are on Whidbey Island, I encourage you to follow my friend Jonathan Pulley, the Whidbey Island weather Facebook page there. He does a lot of updates for Whidbey Island. He's also on Twitter, and you can follow him there. Let's see, just had a massive snow pellet shower in Longview. Nice, so that would be right down here. And then Jessica asked, is it going to snow in Everett? I got to drive to work from Everett to Duval. Well, as we saw in those cameras, it's definitely snowing in Duval right now. That snow band is currently to the east of Everett. We're getting some heavy snow at times in Duval. As far as this forecast goes, you can see Everett is right here, and we can zoom back in on the Seattle zoom here to take a look at this. So you can see Everett, this forecast shows about an inch on the HUR there. The NAM shows also about, maybe a little bit, there's not an inch there, a little bit less than an inch. So I would say there's potential for snow in Everett. If it's not all that much, like around a half inch to an inch, then the only roads that will be impacted are going to be a light coating on some of the side streets. Otherwise, it will it won't be accumulating on the freeways and stuff like that unless you get under a pretty heavy band. One thing to note, if we go to the previous run of the NAM, it did show a heavier area of snow stretching all the way from northern Lewis County there through the Seattle Metro, all the way up through parts of the San Juans and western Skagit County. This could still happen as well. You could see it's kind of, over the last few runs, it's kind of flip-flopped in these solutions. It was pretty consistent on that band for the last few runs until we got to this one, and it only shows about 1 inch there. Let's see, got a question here. How does Onalaska look coming up? I'm currently at home and concerned about getting home. So Onalaska, if I am correct, that's down in Lewis County. That area is not going to do too bad. I would say an inch of snow max for Lewis County there. So that's not too impactful for that area, unless you have to go into any of the hills or the mountains or anything where you could maybe get a little bit more. Let's see, now extremely heavy snow in Duval at 420 feet. That band is just really training over that area as it moves north. Austin says, in Monroe, I'm a teacher and I'm hoping for a snow day. We could have some snow days. We had a decent amount of school delays this morning, and we didn't have all that much snow across the region. We did have some up in Whatcom County. My friend Ben Yurkovic and Jonathan Pulley, they were up there and got some really cool footage, including like ground blizzard type conditions up there with the Fraser outflow. So there was some snow up there. We had some spotty areas of snow across the metro area, and that did cause a decent amount of school delays. And that could happen again tomorrow morning, so that is definitely something to look at. But something else that I wanted to take a look at here is if we look at the European model, we can play this through the next few days here, and there's a really interesting feature that it's showing tomorrow night for the lowlands that I definitely think is worth talking about here. So you can see as we go through Tuesday morning there, European does show snow across western Washington. It is picking up on some of that heavier snow up north of Everett and near Bellingham there, but also showing some snow showers across the rest of the region and on the coast. You can see as we go through Tuesday morning there, snow tapers across the metro area, but then as we go into the afternoon, we start to get some showers creep back in toward Olympia there, and then as we go to early Wednesday morning, you can see that snow starts to pick up again there, and you can see most of the region gets some snow overnight Tuesday into Wednesday morning, and then our surface low that's been offshore starts to move back toward the coast there on Wednesday. And take a look at Wednesday evening there. That's potentially some heavy snow setting up in this like convergence zone. This actually would be a deformation band stretching from Hoquiam all the way over toward Seattle and into the Cascades near Snoqualmie Pass. So you can see as we go through Wednesday night, that band just sits there. Basically from Hoquiam down towards Snoqualmie Pass and the Cascades of King County, and it just sits there for multiple hours before ending Thursday. That will be, it goes from Wednesday night into like mid-afternoon Thursday. So that could be pretty interesting if that happens. And if we zoom in here on the European models, snowfall or snow accumulations here, we're going to look at positive snow depth change, because this is a better measure of what will actually stick to the ground. And you can see with this heavy band, you can see where that band sets up there, basically from Seattle south through SeaTac, Renton, Auburn, Federal Way, Tacoma, Olympia, and then out toward Hoquiam and Shelton there as well. You can see it shows some decent totals of 3 to 8 inches potentially if that band were to set up there Wednesday night into Thursday. If you look at the total snow and the Kuchera ratio there, this is a way of measuring how much snow could actually fall. It shows like some huge amounts that are probably not going to happen. I don't anticipate 8+ inches of snow across parts of the Seattle metro area. You can see it does show some enhanced snow across parts of Bellingham. That's definitely possible, as we've seen recently here. So hold on just a second. Let me take a drink. All right. Let me catch up on the chat here. Team Snow Day, yeah. Snow looks like foam in Duval. Nice. Mark Skelton asks, what does the next storm look like on Friday? So let's take a look at the Friday storm, or see what the Euro is showing. You see the Euro doesn't show all that much on Friday. It does show some light snow potentially moving into the area by Saturday. And then that kind of pushes out pretty quickly and not all that much comes of it. We can take a look at the GFS and see if it shows anything different. So here we can see the GFS for Friday midday there. You can see it shows some snow across Oregon. And then we have this storm moving in on Saturday, and it does actually show some snow across parts of western Washington Saturday into Sunday. Some up in southwest BC as well, but this is pretty far out in terms of snow forecasting. One thing to note is that the GFS actually has been hinting at something happening there on Wednesday night into Thursday as well, just like the European. It's just a little bit different. You can see the GFS has that surface low offshore, and it has this deformation band, has snow across parts of western Washington Wednesday night, spreads it into the metro area Thursday morning, and then pushes that deformation band northward before weakening it Thursday mid-afternoon. And this does give some accumulations as well. You can see that this is probably not going to happen. So let's go to snow depth change. It has some terrain issues. It doesn't think any of this terrain. It doesn't think any of Whidbey Island or San Juans exist. So just ignore that for a second. It's showing 4 to 6 inches potentially across parts of Seattle Metro. You can see if we look at how much snow could fall in total, it's showing anywhere from 6 to 10 inches. That's probably unlikely. I would not expect that amount. Although, I mean, the European is showing this enhanced area of snow, so that is pretty interesting to see. Again, if we look at positive snow depth change, that's probably a more realistic value. But still, these are snow values that could cause serious impacts to the region if they were to happen, especially because it would be pretty quick. So we still got a couple days to figure that out. But it definitely would be pretty interesting. That's for sure. If we were to get this area of heavy snow setting up across parts of the central parts of western Washington there. Austin says, Weather Underground is saying 2.9 inches for Monroe tonight. I have a very hard time believing we'll get anything close to that. Yeah, I would say that's probably on the high side. I mean, if we look at the current radar here, you can see that it is snowing in Monroe. And based on how long that snow band sits over you, you may be able to get some decent totals out of that. But 2.9 to 3 inches might be a little bit on the high side there. You can see we have some more areas of snow starting to move north here out of Pierce County. Be interesting to see what these set up and everything else that's coming in over the next few hours here. If we look at the satellite imagery, you can see, let's use this one. You can see how that we have a little area of low pressure spinning offshore, and it's just pushing these showers north into western Washington there. So that could be pretty interesting, just to see where those set up over the next few hours. The NAM and the HER high-resolution models have kind of been flipping back and forth in terms of where there could be a heavier band of snow or something like that. Let me check. Let's check those traffic cameras again. Because that heavy snow is kind of going right over some of these cameras here up by Novelty Hill. So here's Novelty Hill. Let's take a look at the top of Novelty Hill. You can see there, let's open this, Novelty Hill at Trilogy Parkway there outside of Redmond, that is sticking to the roads, and you can see where people haven't driven, there's even where people are driving there, you see tracks in the snow there. that just shows you that it doesn't take very much to have that snow start accumulating across the area under some of those heavier bands. As we go closer toward Redmond, you can see there's not much falling to the west of this band. Then once you get under it, you got snow starting to accumulate on the roads there, and you can even see that it's getting even heavier down there in the Snoqualmie Valley as well. And then we can also take a look at the temperature map, and we can see how that band could be influencing the temperatures a little bit in that area versus some other areas right around there. So let's put it on all here. So yeah, you can kind of see this, how Duval, Union Hill, Novelty Hill is about 32 degrees, whereas over a little bit closer to the water outside of that band, you're up at like 34, 35, maybe 36 degrees. But taking a broader look at things here, temperatures are already cooling down. You can see here in my area, Federal Way, we're in the 33, 34, some places about 35, a little bit warmer near the water there. As you go into the foothills a little bit, some places that have had some snow bands moving over them for a while, like Enumclaw, Black Diamond, Maple Valley, all in the low 30s. And then you can see as we go up to the north, you can see where that Fraser outflow is having a big impact. Take a look at Whatcom County there. You can see Bellingham, it's 25 degrees. And up in Linden, 21 to 22. Even up into the Vancouver metro area, you can see Abbotsford about 21 degrees, and Vancouver about 28 degrees, 27 at Vancouver International Airport right now. And then if we take a look at the wind chill, you can also see these Fraser outflow winds are very cold here across the region. 6-degree wind chill there in Abbotsford, 4 degrees in Linden, feels like 11 in Bellingham. And that extends out over some of the areas that are getting impacted by this wind. You can see 17-degree wind chill at East Sound on Orcas Island, 23 is the feels like temperature at Friday Harbor, and that outflow is starting to hit the northern Olympic Peninsula, which can potentially cause some snow. We'll take a look at that in a minute. You can see Port Angeles wind chill 22 degrees. If we put it like this, you can see where the wind is coming out of the northeast or just the north here in the case of Port Angeles. That is that Fraser outflow. It hasn't made it very far down into western Washington, really only just making it to the northern Olympic Peninsula today. It took a while for it to get there. So let's take a look at that potential snowfall on the northern side of the Olympic Peninsula. The NAM model should be almost done here. We're about halfway through. So you can see as we watch the NAM model this goes out to Wednesday morning. You can see Squim area doesn't really look like it gets anything, but potentially a couple inches around Port Angeles there. You can see that band we were talking about earlier potentially over parts of San Juan Islands and Whidbey Island. So let me catch up on the chat for a second here. Mark Skelton says we got 8.5 inches in Nanaimo from today's conditions, ugly and icy. You can see, see this enhanced snowfall across parts of eastern Vancouver Island. That is kind of what Mark is talking about in terms of that heavy snow in Nanaimo there. If we zoom out a little bit, you can kind of see it. Nanaimo's right up here, 5 to 6 inches. For any of our Canadian friends, this is an American forecast model. It doesn't have centimeters, of course. But this would be a decent amount of snow. I believe 6 inches is somewhere around 15 centimeters. So correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that's kind of what we're looking at for some of southeastern Vancouver Island there. One other thing we should take a look at is the National Blend of Models. This is the forecast model run by the National Weather Service, and we can see what it shows. What this model does is it kind of takes all of the other forecast models and puts them together. So it's not always the most accurate, but it does usually give a pretty good picture, especially when you're in close range to an event. So you can see if we put this through Tuesday there, it shows about a ½ inch to an inch for most of the metro area, but does show that enhanced area of snow from like North Seattle up through Everett, parts of Whidbey Island, they're getting up to 2 inches, and it shows some in the foothills as well. And then you can see what it's showing for parts of Vancouver Island there, and then potentially for the North Coast as well. I'm just curious, I haven't actually looked at this for the potential there on Wednesday into Thursday with that deformation band, you can see it has, the National Blended Models has it a little bit different. It shows maybe another inch of snow for most of the metro area, and then a couple more inches under that deformation band, possibly for Everett and the Kitsap Peninsula and parts of Whidbey Island, maybe getting up to 3 to 4 inches total. So, but this is not the most accurate model in this type of thing, but it's just interesting to see what they all say. So we'll let the NAM model keep running here. DJK says, Noah says about 2 inches for me tonight. You said you were up in Snoqualmie Ridge, I think. I think 2 inches is probably a little bit of a stretch. It took me here in Federal Way like a whole day of snow showers and then a heavy band this morning to even reach like 1.7 inches. So it's kind of difficult with this kind of a setup to reach 2 inches of snow. Let's see, what does the radar show for Longview and Kelso? We have some good snow coming down right now. Let's take a look. We have to look at the Portland radar for that. Let's scroll down there. You can see there is the Portland radar. And oh yeah, you definitely got some. It shows up as rain on the radar, but this is probably falling as snow. We can confirm that here by taking a look at the Department of Transportation cameras here. Let's take a look at I-5 there in the Kelso region, and there's definitely some snow on the ground. Let's take a look downtown Longview. It looks like it's snowing. You can see the traffic looks a little bit slower north of Longview and Kelso. That's probably because of the snow. Yeah, you can see some snow in the cameras there. Let's see where the next camera to the north is there. It's probably not going to show anything. I don't think so. So there is the camera looking toward the Lewis and Clark Bridge going into Oregon. Yeah, I think it looks like it's snowing there. The radar confirms that. So that's all part of these bands that are starting to move northward toward the metro area here. So it'll be interesting to see where all of this ends up. Let's go back to Seattle radar and check how that snow band is doing. You can see it's starting to push off to the east a little bit, maybe starting to wrap up for some areas like North Bend. You can see, if anyone is watching me from the eastern parts of Auburn, Lee Hill there, Covington, out toward those areas, Black Diamond Road, it looks like we have some potential snow falling there. Let me see if I can put this onto the... don't know if I can put this on my enhanced layers here. Yeah, we can do this here. This will make it a little bit easier to see. Let's try that. There we go. Now we can have the road network on there, and you can see there's Highway 18 there. You can see under that there is probably some snow. The traffic cameras under there are not working right now. Let me check up on the chat and see what you guys are up to. Hey Brian, how are you doing? Thanks for tuning in. DJK says, over the weekend I got more snow than expected. Yeah, some places did. I didn't expect to get almost 2 inches here in Federal Way, but that is what happened. It just really depended on where those showers were and if you ended up underneath one or not. Excuse me. Let's zoom out here and keep taking a look at that radar. You can see got some showers moving up through parts of the Kitsap Peninsula. Anyone over by Bremerton or Silverdale, chime in the chat there if it's snowing. If it's snowing anywhere where you are, feel free to chime in and let me know. Bradley says, how about Tacoma over the next couple hours? Well, let's take a look at that, because I have a little bit of a vested interest in what's going to go on with that, because that would include me in Federal Way here too. So let's take a look at the NAM model here. We can take a look at what simulated radar it shows. So as we go to about 6 p.m. there, 7, 8, you can see it's not really showing much for... Well, you can see it does show a band of snow moving up through most of the area, and then it starts to show a couple hours of snow there for most of the metro from like 10 to 11, midnight, 1 a.m. there. And so that could potentially be some snow for Tacoma, mainly, I would say, next couple of hours, potentially into early in the morning, like 1 a.m. if we take a look at the high resolution rapid refresh, it shows a little bit different. You can see it's kind of picking up on that band out over some of the eastern suburbs, and then you can see it shows maybe by 9 to 10 p.m. some snow moving through Tacoma, and that is pretty much it that it shows there. But we can go to the more extended version of that, and yeah, it shows some snow, maybe a tiny little bit of stuff out by 8 a.m. there. But I would say, Bradley, that your best chance of snow in Tacoma is probably overnight. I'd say maybe from like now through like 2 a.m. or so. And I'll obviously be posting on that over the evening and into the night here, because I'll be in Federal Way at my house, so I'll be posting updates on what's going on there. Let's see, Krista says still snowing in northeast Snohomish, fluffy flakes. That's awesome. Emma says snowing southeast of Duval there for over an hour. Yeah, that checks out with where that heavy band of snow has been. Excuse me. Okay, so one other thing I want to take a look at, because I know I've been talking about it in my daily briefings, but I don't know if it's really something that we're kind of catching on to, so I just want to talk about it here. Temperatures are going to be getting colder over the next few days here. So we take a look at Tuesday morning's lows, and you can see most of the area likely in the 20s. Some of these outlying areas potentially down into the teens. This 18 you're seeing right here is Graham in Pierce County there. So you can see areas near the water likely to be a little bit warmer. Seattle there, that 27 degrees. But, excuse me, hold on. Okay, that's better. Outside of Seattle, Tacoma, Olympia there in the mid-20s. But if we go to Wednesday morning, then you can see it gets even colder. Areas from Seattle southward in the low 20s, maybe some upper teens. And Everett northward there, also upper teens to low 20s. Even on the coast in the upper 20s there. Thursday morning, about the same. Friday morning, though, this is kind of interesting. You can see, and this could be enhanced by any areas that have a lot of snow on the ground. When you have a lot of snow on the ground and it's clear at night, that allows the temperatures to get even colder because you lose even more radiation because of that snow. You can see Friday morning there, you've got lows around Seattle in the low 20s, maybe upper teens down toward Tacoma a little bit, and then areas from Everett northward all in the mid to upper teens there. That would be pretty significant for this area. And then you can see along the coast, lows dropping all the way to the mid-20s. That's 22 in Hoquiam, 20 up at Quileute near La Push. So that's pretty interesting. You can see even down toward Portland there, they're showing 20 at PDX, 20 in Longview, and 15 even down by Chehalis and Toledo there. And then as we go into Saturday, you can see that warms up a little bit. But it's just interesting to see that we're going to have some pretty chilly temperatures here. And if we want to take a look at what it will really feel like outside, we can look at the apparent temperature. This is the wind chill. So that coldest morning we saw was Friday morning there. So we can play this out to Friday morning. And you can see even Thursday morning there, you got feels like temperatures in the teens for parts of the metro area and in the low teens for Bellingham with that Fraser outflow. But if we go out to, let's go to Friday at like 10 a.m. or like 7 a.m. So 7 a.m. there Friday, that's the coldest time. You can see it's really feels like temperatures in the mid-teens that are around Seattle. And look at Bellingham and Whatcom County. You got feels like temperatures approaching zero. So you're getting to the point there where you can cause frostbite in as little as 15 minutes on exposed skin, especially even where you got more wind there. Look at the coast. Hoquiam potentially wind chills down to 11 degrees. That would be pretty significant for the Washington coast. So be careful of these next few mornings. It's not going to be warm. And another thing to mention with this is that any snow that is on the ground will freeze. Anything that is on the ground, even if it's just slush, that'll be frozen slush. All the water will be potentially black ice. So And then, of course, any snow that falls will also end up freezing. And it could freeze instantly, as if the ground's below freezing, or it'll freeze after it stops falling, and then you've got some messy roads in the morning. So another thing we can do is we can actually take a look at if there's any school delays already. My favorite page for this is the Como News schools page here. So you can see this is updated at 6:20 p.m. And you can see there's a lot of schools that have some closure alerts here. Let's see if we can see any that don't really surprise me. Take a look at that. Linden School District closed. Linden Christian School District closed. I would assume a lot of the places up north are going to be closed there. So I'll put a link to this on my page at some point, so you guys can keep this up, or you can just go to Como News, and then it'll be right there on the top. I think all the news stations have that. I'm not positive, but I think most of them do have a school closures site there. Let me catch up on the chat. BJ, thank you for this update. You're welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Dale says, mostly concerned about driving from Auburn to Federal Way at 5 a.m. Yep, the Highway 18 hill. I definitely know what you're talking about there. If we look at the NAM model there, we can try to see how much snow could fall in this area. So we can compare it versus its previous run. And so we kind of have two potentials, I would say, for snow between Auburn and Federal Way. The latest run shows about an inch, and I'd say that is definitely possible. The previous run shows 2 to 3 inches. So I would say 1 to 3 inches is the possibilities between Auburn and Federal Way. However, as we got some heavy snow over the last couple days, there was not really a time I noticed a lot of snow on Highway 18. It would accumulate on the shoulder and maybe a little bit in between the lanes, but it didn't really cover the whole road. However, if it is a little bit colder, that could change, though. I would say that a freeway on a steep hill like Highway 18 would be one of the ones that the DOT would want to plow and treat as quick as possible. So if you're going to be going between Auburn and Federal Way, if you're going any of those approaches from the east or west sides of the local valleys here, I would assume that if they are freeways, they will most likely try to plow them as quick as possible. Although up at 5 a.m., it may be a little bit difficult if there is snow on the roads. So the best thing to do is before you leave, check these WashDOT cameras, see what's going on. We can actually take a look at some of them right now to see what snow is like out in some of that band. You can't actually see anything as a Hobart Road. So here's Tiger Mountain. You can see there's snow in the parking lot there, but it looks like the road is clear because you got enough people driving on it. Let's go up to Carnation and take a look at what it's like there in town. This is Highway 203. You can see it's snowing, not sticking down there in the valley, but those are some pretty big snowflakes. If we go up to Highway 202, that would be just outside the Snoqualmie Valley there to the west, and you can see it is snowing there as well. Maybe a little bit trying to accumulate on the road there, but it looks like it's on the side of the road some. And so we go up north. Let's take a look at Monroe while we're at it. You can usually use these cameras to see if it's snowing at all. The roads are wet in Monroe, so I would assume it is probably snowing, but it's a little bit hard to tell right there. Let's update these cameras and take a look at parts of King County there. You can see now down in the valley, Snoqualmie Valley, this is at 124th Street. It's starting to accumulate in the road there. This is a great place to watch flooding, by the way, if you're ever if you're ever doing that. It's one of my favorite places to go. Top of Novelty Hill there, you can see lots of snow there on the roads, covering all the intersections. You can see where people drive, it hasn't really started accumulating yet, but it probably will here. Here's Woodinville Duval Road at Snoqualmie Valley Road. I know this is a pretty significant road here. It's snowing heavily, but it's not really sticking right now. So, I mean, it may over the next couple hours if some of this stuff continues. So if we go up a little bit here, we go up toward Cottage Lake there. You can see it's snowing, but not sticking to the roads. Go up to, what is this one here? Avondale Road. It's It's snowing. It's not sticking yet to the roads, but it is snowing. If you go a little bit further south here, you can see it's not really snowing all that much. Here's, for example, here's the end of Highway 520. It's wet, but it's not snowing. So that's a pretty localized band. Here's the latest radar. You can see it's pushing through. So here's like Maltby, Cottage Lake, Duval, Echo Lake, Monroe, then down toward Carnation and Fall City and Snoqualmie there. It's not... It's starting to push out, starting to push a little bit more north toward Granite Falls there, but you can pick up some accumulations here over the next couple hours with this. You can see here's our next band starting to move in. Sumner, Bonnie Lake, South Prairie, Ord, Graham. Just to my east, there are parts of Auburn and potentially some parts of Kent could be getting some snow right now. And then we got some more potentially down by Olympia, Fort Lewis, Anderson Island, some of the key peninsula there. So I'll keep it on the radar here while I read the chat. Emma says 18 at Tiger Mountain is where it gets really nasty. That's true. It's been closed multiple times each of the last couple of days. Excuse me, and that would be because of collisions, and you really just can't avoid it up there. Let's see. Snowing in Acosta, 33 degrees. Austin says, what do temperatures look like by 5 a.m. tomorrow? Let's take a look. Let's look at 5 a.m. Here's 2 meter temperature. 5 a.m. Tuesday. So that's 5 a.m., and this would not be good if you got some snow that sticks to the roads. You can see that's 28 at SeaTac, 24 in Renton, 20 in Graham, 24 Tacoma, 25 in Bremerton, and then up toward Whatcom County there, you can see 22 in Bellingham, maybe even colder than that because it's already 25 there. So basically, if there's snow on the roads, if there's slush on the roads, it's going to freeze. Pretty much everywhere across western Washington is going to freeze. I believe when I checked my weather station here at my house before I started this live stream, it was already down to 33, and it was partly cloudy. So if it's clear, if you get a clear break between any of those showers, then it's going to drop your temperature even more. And when the showers themselves move through, they do drop the temperature because they mix down some of that colder air aloft. Let's keep going through the chat. Emma says, surprise, it's sticking on Novelty and 124, so I'm surprised it's not sticking in Carnation or on 202. That could be because some of those highways have more traffic on them, so it's not sticking yet. Let's see. Do you think school will be canceled in Kitsap again tomorrow? That really depends on if any snow bands set up over Kitsap County. You can see as of right now, there could be some. There's a rain report there outside of Bremerton, but if it gets cold enough, you could get some snow out of these bands. And with it freezing overnight, there could be school. I would say school delays are a little bit more likely than cancellations at this point. Lockett fan says snowing in Ocean Shores, so that's awesome. I heard from, got a comment on one of my Facebook posts that it is snowing in Ocean Shores. Yeah, wow, take a look at that. You know what we can do actually? This could be pretty interesting. Let's take a look at the Westport webcam. This would be really something if we get some snow on the beach. Oh yeah, wow, take a look at that. Here we go. That is live, folks, in Westport, and look at that. That's heavy snow. So it's heavy snow falling in Westport, Washington. And for those of you that don't know or who aren't frequent watchers of this camera, this is on the ocean. Like right out here is literally the ocean, like right there. So this is as close to the ocean as you can get, and you're getting some heavy snow. So that's pretty exciting, and you can see radar confirms that. You got this shower moving north, areas from like Grayland up through Westport, Ocean Shores, Ocean City, Copalis Beach, even up towards Seabrook there. And also, see this big black hole? That's the coastal radar. I was just there just over a week ago. It's pretty cool to see. So you can see that is That's a pretty big area of snow there, and it's just dumping in Westport. That's really cool. So there you can see the town of Westport, and you can see the snow is falling in all the streetlights there. I don't think it doesn't look like it's sticking to the street, but hey, it might be. So any of you out on the coast there, feel free to chime in and let me know if you're getting some snow on your roads there. If it's sticking to the sand, that's super cool. I've been out in Long Beach actually when it has snowed before, and that's just one of the most amazing types of weather you can see on our coast is when you get the snow on the beach. You get to drive on the beach and in the snow at the same time, which is really quite something. Let me keep going through the chat here. Emma says expect at least a delay in Kitsap. Yeah, I would say the same. Keith says it feels like 2 degrees in Bellingham with a wind gust of 32 miles an hour. Man, look at that snow. That's pretty crazy. That's really cool. I would love to be up in Westport right now, snow on the beach. Let's look at the wind chills here. Let's zoom in on Bellingham there. Yeah, you can see right outside town, like Ferndale, 9 degrees feels like 9 at the airport. Look at Linden there. It feels like 5 degrees. Also, just if you guys are up in Whatcom County and you are not yet following the Whatcom County Weather Facebook page, that's run by Randy Small. He's a great guy, really, really knowledgeable about weather in Whatcom County. If you're up there, you should definitely follow his page. I follow it, and I'm not in Whatcom County just because I really like the weather that they have there and the content that he posts, and his updates super thorough and all that. So Whatcom County Weather by Randy Small, you should definitely go follow that on Facebook. He's also on Twitter as well. Bangor got like 3 inches, whereas Keyport got a dusting. That's very interesting. So if we take a look at that on the map here, so Bangor is here. That's our submarine base, and Keyport, I believe that's right over here, right? So Keyport here, Bangor here, they're very close to each other, just like on the other side of Highway 3. But that kind of shows you that it really depends on where those snow bands set up, because I mean, these are only a couple miles away from each other, and if this area got 3 inches and this area got nothing or just a dusting, that must have been some pretty heavy snow. That's probably kind of what's going on here in Westport. I wouldn't be surprised if like places like Hoquiam and Aberdeen, they're not getting much of anything, whereas you got heavy snow falling in Westport and Ocean Shores. So that is pretty cool to see, and it also just shows just how complicated of a forecast this is for us to make here, and how it's been pretty difficult to explain at times. Just the amount of uncertainty with this, where you just don't know where it's gonna set up. Like here with this band, I mean, this big band we've been talking about during our live stream. You can see, for example, here's Lake Stevens. You can see West Lake Stevens there, and then take a look at like Lake Bosworth. It's dumping right there in Lake Bosworth and Granite Falls, but Lake Stevens is like getting absolutely nothing. So it's just really interesting, and also sometimes pretty challenging to see what's going on with these different snow bands and showers and stuff like that. Keith, one more question. What is the best radar to use on your computer? Well, if you're willing to pay the money, I use RadarScope. It's a great app. It's available on your computer. It's available on your smartphone, iPad, tablet, stuff like that. If you're getting it on one of your smart devices there on your phone or your tablet, you got to pay $10. If you're getting it on a computer like this, you have to pay $30, I believe, on the Microsoft Store. Maybe less if you have a Mac. It's totally worth it in my opinion, especially the $10 version for your iPad or your phone. I have it on all my devices. I use it all the time. But there's a lot of different radar apps you can use. So really it's just you just want to try some out and see what you think of them, and then pick which one you like the best. But in terms of overall quality, RadarScope is the best one to use because they just have the most features and everything like that. So let's take a look again at, let's take a look at these cameras again so we can see that snowfall. Here's the Carnation camera there. You can see snowing there at Tolt Hill Road and Highway 203. Go up toward Duval. Looks like there might be some starting to stick to Woodinville Duval Road. And then, yeah, 124th still sticking there. And Trilogy Parkway and Novelty Hill Road definitely still sticking there as well. Here's another thing I wanted to take a look at. This is the European Model Ensemble forecast, and we're looking here at SeaTac Airport. This is the potential day when we're looking at that deformation band that could bring a lot of snow to some parts of western Washington. And so we're looking at a couple of different things here. This blue line that goes really high and then comes crashing back down, that's the control run, and that is the initial conditions best we understand them. And then here you have this green line with these bars. This is the ensemble mean, So this is more of the average of all of these different ensemble members put together to give you the best guess at the forecast. The ensemble mean for SeaTac Airport shows somewhere around 3 to 4 inches of snow. The control run and a few of these ensembles is showing over 6 inches there. So you can see that there is likely going to be some enhanced snowfall there on Wednesday evening into Thursday, potentially going into Thursday afternoon. And this is that signal that we've been kind of watching. We can see how this would go if we can put in some different airports here. So here, let's put in Renton. You can see the control run went nuts and is kind of off its rocker there, but the ensemble average is over 3 inches there for Renton, with this potential feature there on Thursday. And then if we look down toward, say, JBLM there, you can see it's showing some enhanced snow, maybe 2.5 inches there. That would be interesting. And then out toward Olympia, there you can see additional snow, maybe 2 inches or so. And then go out toward Hoquiam, and you can see again showing that feature. So it could be pretty interesting to see what happens. But if we go up north a little bit, you go up toward Boeing Field, you can see it still shows up. But if you go toward Everett, see, there's very little signal for enhanced snow, maybe an inch or two. But compare the Everett ensemble right there to Seattle. Just a big difference. So we have to watch this feature on the European model really closely, because it could be very disruptive if it does occur there. So you can see there is that feature there. It'll be like late Thursday night into Friday morning. This would be very interesting to see. This would probably cause some really difficult travel around Tacoma and Seattle. You get heavy snow like this, and it will accumulate on freeways. It doesn't take all that much. You just got to have it going for a while. So it's definitely something we have to watch closely. Here we can compare the European model and the GFS model. So you can see right now we're looking at, this is 7 p.m. on Thursday. 7 p.m. on Wednesday, so Wednesday night. You can see the European model, it's at higher resolution, so it's able to pick up some of the features of heavy precipitation more, versus the GFS model, which kind of just has a big blob. But as we go through Wednesday night into early Thursday morning, you can see there is some agreement on this heavy area of snow setting up across parts of the metro area there. The European model shows it being a little bit more narrow than the GFS, which kind of shows a more widespread thing. And then the GFS is a bit more progressive with it and starts to push it up north toward Whidbey Island, the North Sound, northern Kitsap Peninsula, while the European model has it just hanging out over the Seattle area for hours until this is now 10 a.m. Thursday, and it's still going before it finally ends there by all the way around 4 p.m. there on Thursday. So this would be a really interesting thing if it happened. You can see there's general agreement between these two models with it there, which is pretty interesting to see. We can take a look at the NAM model, because the NAM model may go out far enough now to be in range of this thing. And here you can see, so this is interesting. The NAM model has some pretty interesting stuff happening on Wednesday. So you can see Wednesday at noon to 1 to 2 p.m., got some showers moving through. Based on your temperatures at this time, 2 p.m. on Wednesday, this could be falling as rain-snow mix. That moves up to the north, potentially falling as more snow between Everett and Whidbey Island and up toward Bellingham. But then look at this. As we go to 6 p.m. there, you can see initially starting as rain-snow mix near the water and snow in other areas turns to all snow by 7 to 8 p.m. It does show that deformation band, and it shows it hanging out to about 11 p.m., and then potentially followed by more showers, but this is where the model run cuts off. And if we look at the accumulation, let's run this all the way out. It wasn't done running when I last refreshed this. So you can see it does start to show some of that enhanced accumulation there for especially areas from Seattle northward, 2 to 4 inches there. So that would be pretty interesting to see. We got to watch this over the next few days on multiple forecast models to see if it shows up, like the European model obviously being the most dramatic with it, but the European model is also usually our most accurate. So it's definitely something we have to watch very closely. Let me check the chat here. Bradley says, on live radar, it looks like we have a pretty consistent flow of long moisture bands heading our way. Yep, it does. We just got to see kind of where they set up. Let's see, what does Longview and Kelso look like on Wednesday? Got to drive to Centralia Wednesday morning. So let's go. Let's zoom out here. So Wednesday morning. Let's back this up here, European model. So you can see as we go through Tuesday night into early Wednesday, you could potentially have some snow there across parts of Longview and Kelso. Then maybe another round of snow starting to move in ahead of that feature we've been talking about here by mid-morning into early afternoon Wednesday. But if the snow is on the lighter side, and you can see that for this area, it might be, you might get some heavier stuff by, let's see, we can do the total from through Wednesday morning there. I would say maybe an inch or so there around Longview and Kelso up towards Centralia. So if you're getting an inch to 2 inches, even up maybe, so an inch to 2 inches there is not going to accumulate on I-5. It will accumulate potentially on side roads. Once you get toward like getting 3 to 4 inches of snow, that will probably start accumulating on the freeways. So I think Wednesday morning between Kelso and Centralia should be okay, especially if you're on I-5 all the way. Like I said earlier, the number one priority road to keep clear of snow in Western Washington is I-5. Of course, you could argue that I-90, 405 also just as important, but I-5 is the number one road that the DOT keeps clear. So it's rare that there's big problems on I-5, although we did have some big problems on I-5 yesterday. That's actually something that will be pretty cool to talk about. So let me look here on my Blue Sky account. Let's take a look at my friend Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. I'm sure most of you know him well from his videos. There was a very strong cell that moved across Puget Sound yesterday and into parts of Normandy Park, SeaTac Airport, up towards Seattle. There was thunder snow near Boeing Field, which was amazing to see. And then look at Michael's shot here above Normandy Park with this curtain of snow pellets and snow just barreling across Puget Sound, slamming into the area. It actually caused some collisions and spinouts on I-5 between Highway 516 and Highway 518, and it was just, it was really, really bad traffic there for a few hours. There were some delays at SeaTac Airport, and Michael said that this dropped about an inch of snow within a couple of hours. So this is what happens when you get some of these heavy snow bands, is that it can slam in really quickly and drop a lot of snow. This happened to me, actually. If you take a look here at my page, this happened earlier this morning. So here is a video from Federal Way there, and you can see under a heavy snow band, for those familiar with Federal Way, this is Pacific Highway South, and that's a pretty heavy amount of snow to actually cause this much accumulation. And you can see in the video just how heavy that snow is. This is 336th Street for those of you in Federal Way. A major road. There's a lot that kind of goes on here. The school buses take this road back to the bus barn, and you can see it's totally accumulating on everything. And the temperature about this time was 32 degrees. So this just shows that it doesn't have to be like 28 or 25 degrees or something like that for snow to stick to the roads. Even big roads like this. I mean, Pacific Highway South, that's a state highway. And you can see if we like pause it right here, there's snow on the road there. So it doesn't take much, and especially when you have temperatures about 32 degrees there. So you can see that's what it looks like on the side roads. It's like just sticking to everything, and you can't really even see the road at all. So there is it doesn't take very much, and that's like what we've been talking about up here in the Duval area with that heavy band moving through. You can see there Novelty Hill Road, the rush hour traffic right now, so there's not going to be as much of an opportunity for it to stick to the road, but still, it's pretty heavy at times. Excuse me, let me take a drink. Always important to stay hydrated. Always, especially when you're doing when you're doing a live stream and talking for an hour straight. Lenny says, looks like the Chehalis Gap is going to get hit. Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, the Chehalis Gap is, let's take a look at this here. This is kind of this area between Puget Sound and Grays Harbor there, and between the Willapa Hills and the Olympic Mountains. And this gap is named the Chehalis Gap because the Chehalis River flows through it. It's also the main conduit that brings a lot of strong winds in windstorms for Puget Sound. When you get a typical windstorm here, all of our wind flows up through the Chehalis Gap and then up the Puget Sound. Let's play this through the next few days, and you can see, yeah, the Chehalis Gap gets hit really hard. Lenny, what you were probably looking at there is that same feature that I've been talking about here. That deformation band here on the European model brings a lot of snow to the Chehalis Gap there. If we go back to the previous run here, you can see it did the same thing, and even the run before that and all the way to last night's run, it's been showing this enhanced thing. And you can go to this the afternoon run from yesterday, and it's still been showing this feature. So, and now take a look at today's run. It's still there. So, yeah, if you're in the Chehalis Gap, it could be hit pretty hard. So be sure to be prepared for that if you're in those areas. Some areas in there include Elma, McCleary, Montesano, Highway 8 and US 12 through there. So yeah, that area could be hit pretty hard as well. Let's take a look back here at the radar. See what we got going on. Snow report there outside Renton. Nice. You can see this band looks pretty steady here, going up through South Hill, Graham, Puyallup, Sumner, Edgewood, sort of going over parts of Federal Way. I don't know if it's snowing outside right now, actually. I cannot tell. Yeah, I can't tell if it's snowing. Actually, I can look at my home video camera here. Let's see if there's any snow coming down. I doubt it right now. I don't think that's heavy enough for my Federal Way friends there to be bringing us any snow. It doesn't look like it's snowing, but it doesn't take much at these bands. So let's take a look at Puyallup, because it looks like it's snowing pretty heavily there. So let's bring the DOT cameras down to Puyallup there. Here is South Hill. You can see it looks like there's some snow in... Maybe you see some snow in the headlights there. Kind of hard to tell on these cameras. 410 interchange. Looks like the visibility is a little bit lower, so there could be some snow falling in these areas. Yeah, here this camera, you can kind of tell that there's some snow falling. I wish there was cameras a little bit further up here on South Hill. Take a look over toward Spanaway Drive over there. Let's see, where else is that heavy snow going? Toward Auburn. We can look at the Auburn camera here. Doesn't look like it's snowing too much yet. Jade says big flakes in Sumner right now. Awesome. These traffic cameras down there are a little bit difficult to pick that up, but that confirms what the radar is showing. There's Sumner right there. You can see Sumner, Puyallup, Bonnie Lake. Bonnie Lake not getting much with this. Puyallup is, Edgewood is, Algona. Auburn there. It may be snowing may start snowing at my house soon. You can see Gig Harbor getting a pretty heavy snow shower right now. Let's look at the Gig Harbor cameras. Here, this is just outside Gig Harbor on Highway 16. Let's put right in town there. It's kind of hard to tell, but it looks like it might be snowing there. That shower is pretty small. You see, you got some more moving up here. Bet it's snowing pretty good. Anyone down in Graham? Because that is looking pretty heavy on the radar right there. Donnie says patiently waiting in Maple Valley. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's much there right now. We'll see. Some of these showers here to the south near Wilkeson and Carbonado, moving up toward Enumclaw, could bring you some snow in Maple Valley there. Bradley asks, so why does that say 7 inches for Tacoma on the Kuchera ratio? There's a couple ways of measuring snowfall. So there's a Kuchera ratio, which takes into account more than just so actually, this way. So the 10-to-1 ratio For a long time, this was assumed to be the standard for just how we forecast the snow. 10 inches of snow equals 1 inch of water. However, there's a lot of discrepancies in that. There are some places like the Rocky Mountains and some parts of the eastern United States, especially central United States, though, where you have huge snowfall rates where you can get like super, super fluffy and light snow where it takes like 20 inches of snow to get 1 inch of water. Or we have what Shannon O'Donnell of Como News likes to refer to as Cascade Concrete here in Western Washington, where you get like 3 to 5 inches of snow equals 1 inch of water. So assuming a 10-to-1 ratio all the time is usually not accurate. So an Air Force meteorologist named Evan Kuchera made the Kuchera ratio, which takes into effect it takes temperatures and snowfall rates and a lot of different things into account that the 10-to-1 ratio standard does not. And usually the Kuchera ratio is more accurate than just giving the 10-to-1 ratio. And you can see here, it does show 7 inches for Tacoma, yeah, but see how splotchy it is? That means I would take it with a grain of salt at this point. Yes, as I see Donnie alluding to in the chat, the Euro does actually have a reputation for being the most accurate forecast because it has held that position for many, many years, and it usually just keeps proving itself correct. But when you're looking at marginal snowfall situations where there's a 50-50 chance that it's really going to start sticking to the road, something you want to look at more is called the positive snow depth change. So this is basically showing what will actually stick. And still, I mean, when this is showing 4 to 8 inches for parts of the Seattle and Tacoma metro areas, that's very disruptive. I mean, 2 to 3 inches can be disruptive for Seattle. I've heard of less than an inch being disruptive at SeaTac Airport. So it's just a matter of kind of figuring out what these different forecasts mean, what these names, snow depth change, Kuchera ratio, 10-to-1 ratio, what they mean, and kind of figuring out which one is the most accurate. Excuse me here, I'm going to plug in my computer. Just got to grab the cord for it there. Bradley says, asking my buddy in the Graham area. Nice. Yeah, I'd be curious to know what's going on. I mean, it looks like it's snowing pretty good. Let's see I don't know if Pierce County has traffic cameras. They have webcams. Let's see. Do they? They only have Anderson Island Ferry and Chambers Bay. So let's see. City of Puyallup probably doesn't. Some cities have traffic cameras, but it doesn't look like Puyallup does. So well, with a shot. Let's refresh the Westport camera and see if we're still getting epic ocean snow. And it looks like we are. I mean, that is that's pretty cool, I have to say, seeing that snow on the ocean there. Let's see, what do we got here? How is it looking for Woodinville? Zach asks. Let's take a look at Woodinville. So right now, that area is getting some snow. If we take a look at the radar, you can see as we go up to Woodinville here that band was just to the east of Woodinville, and now it's started to move off. So let's see the NAM forecast here. Let's zoom in to Seattle there, and we can take a look at Woodinville area. So Woodinville's kind of going to be out by my cursor here, and we can play through tonight's forecast. So you can see we had some of that snow banding off to the east of Woodinville. I would say your best chances over the next few hours, potentially to about I'd say between now and 5 a.m. is your best chance for snow. In terms of amounts, we can look at that here too. Maybe an inch or so, maybe a little bit more. I know there's a lot of trees out there, a lot of hilly roads and stuff, so be careful, especially on some of those side streets. Even an inch of snow can be enough to cause some slipping and sliding, especially if it falls pretty heavily. Yeah, you can see got some snow reports ongoing there. Another one just now outside of Renton. You can see that snowband is really focusing on Highway 167 there. So let's take a look at some of those cameras and see if it is actually snowing on Highway 167. That one's unavailable. Here's 24th Street. Kind of hard to tell. Go up toward Algona a little bit. And when there's not very many street lights, it's hard to tell if it's actually snowing. That one's unavailable. Let's go up to north a little bit more toward Auburn. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell if it's snowing in the along 167 there. It looks like it's snowing in Sumner based on some reports we've gotten here in the chat. But again, some of these cameras are just kind of hard to tell if it's actually snowing. Can't really see if it looks mostly dry there in Edgewood. So yeah, let's keep going here. Let's take a look at current temperatures again. That kind of tells us something too. So something I talked about earlier, I posted a video about why it's difficult for there to be lowland snow in western Washington, and you can check that out here. I'll just show you guys what it looks like here. So here is my channel, and you can see that if you see this video here, why is it so hard to get snow in western Washington? That is a good video to watch. I talk about some different scenarios and stuff like that. So let's take a look then at temperatures. So you can see some of these areas under that snow band stretching up 167 are still in the mid 30s. I mean, 34 degrees. That if it's heavy snow, it will probably bring down the temperature. So we can see that did happen out here by Fall City, Duval, some places near Woodinville there. 32. It's down to 32 degrees. If we click on just this random station, we can see if the snowband dropped the temperature at all. It did a tiny bit, but it's been pretty constant up there for a while. But when you get a heavy snowband, it will drop the temperature. It will cause the snow to maybe start sticking, even if the temperatures were not initially those of which you would expect sticking snow. So yeah, feel free to ask your questions in the chat if you've got questions about a certain area. A good example maybe of that snow showers dropping the temperatures really quickly would be if we look at SeaTac Airport yesterday. So we can go back to last night when that heavy snow band moved in, and you can see it dropped the temperature 2 degrees in like 5 minutes, and that's that's pretty significant. And then it stayed down. You can see got gusty wind there. Then got the snow going, super low visibility. That OVC 007, that 007 means 700 feet was how high the clouds were off the ground. So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, these heavy bands can rapidly cause snow to fall, to just start sticking to all these roads and everything. So it's pretty interesting what these bands can do. So yeah, like I was talking about just now, there is this video I posted today about different snow scenarios in western Washington there. And if you go to my channel there, Western Washington Weather, you can, if you're watching this live stream, you can just click it right below the video. It'll be right there. It'll be the first video. I'm going to work on putting it right up here on the top so you see it as soon as you get on the channel. But yeah, it's interesting to look at some of the different potentials for snow across western Washington and how some things allow snow to happen and some things don't. And you just have these really minute setups going on. So that's always pretty interesting to look at here. Let's take a look back at the radar. You can see that snow band looks like it's getting pretty hung up over parts of Highway 167 there. We may have some of this down near South Hill that's moving a little bit more toward Federal Way and Tacoma. And then you can see to the south more stuff down toward Lakewood that's starting to move north as well. Let's see. Bradley got his report from Graham. Started as light snow, then moved to rain, but is now turning to light snow again. That's interesting. That's probably because those temperatures are just a little bit too warm, like 34 degrees. I've seen it snow at 34 degrees here in Western Washington, and it will then drop the temperature to an amount where it will snow more. But that it really just depends on what kind of shower you're under. I would expect if you're under one of these showers that's going to last for a while, then you're probably going to have the temperature drop and it's going to start falling as snow. One thing that it could be a little bit interesting here to point out, so I'm just going to circle, that's SeaTac Airport in that circle there, and you can see that snow is starting to get pretty close to the airport there, and it's a weeknight, so there are a lot of flights going out right now. If we look at FlightAware here, then we can kind of see if there's any delays going on at SeaTac right now. So you can see that snow band on the radar that they show there, and you can see the planes coming in, and planes coming in are in blue there, planes going out are in red, are in green, and we can, let's see, I don't know exactly, I'm not super good at this website, so I'm trying to figure out if, where the delay map is. So if we scroll down, arrivals and departures, let's take a look at airport delays. Here we go. So we can look at SeaTac. Let's see. It's probably going to take us back to where we just were. Weather. Now you can see that vicinity showers, that's been what's reported recently. So I would say it's definitely possible for there to be some delays at SeaTac, especially with how these showers are moving up toward that area. Yep, so let's see. Emma says, how's it looking for ice later this week? Should we expect a hard freeze? Yes, we definitely should. Hard freeze across the whole area. We've been looking at it in the European model. Let's take a look at the National Blend of models. This is a little bit higher resolution, and it should maybe give us a better look at things. So here is 24-hour minimum temperature. Tuesday morning, across the area, mid-20s, low 20s near Whatcom County there. Wednesday morning, whole area in the low to mid-20s, upper teens, low 20s around Whatcom County. Maybe some foothill areas reaching the upper teens. Thursday morning there, mid to upper 20s for most of the metro and most of Western Washington, except Whatcom County there, again in the low 20s. But take a look at Friday morning. Most of the area down into the upper teens to low 20s. Looks like 20 to 24 degrees across downtown Seattle, 20 in Bellingham, outlying areas in the teens. I wouldn't be surprised to see areas like my house in Federal Way, Tacoma areas hit the upper teens, like 18, 19 degrees. So yes, Emma, to answer your question, hard freeze, absolutely, and for multiple nights in a row. You can see as we go, Friday morning warms up a little bit. Friday morning is a cold one. Saturday and Sunday mornings warm up a little bit, but still below freezing in the mid to upper 20s across the whole area. Then as we go into Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, we have a potential to cool down again and have potentially another round of snow chances and cold temperatures before, by the time we get toward next Friday, so Valentine's Day there, we could be starting to warm back up again. But that's something actually interesting to look at, and we can take a look at the temperature outlooks here. So here's the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. This is February 9th to 13th. You can see decent potential below average temperatures across Western Washington, near normal precipitation. 8 to 14 days, you can see below average temperatures still forecast, but above average precipitation. And then 3 to 4 weeks, this was issued at the end of January, so just a few days ago. You can see below average temperatures are likely, and above average precipitation is likely as well. So that's the trend we're looking at. A way we can take a look at this is on the ensembles. So let's take a look at the 12Z so we can see out a little bit further. I mentioned this in my video today, but I thought it'd be interesting to talk about it here too. So this is the European model ensemble, and we're looking at basically weather conditions over the next 2 weeks here. So you can see the thing that I found most interesting is that Seattle doesn't have a high above 40 in this forecast until Saturday, February 15th, which is in just under 2 weeks from now. And you can see every day before that has highs in the 30s and lows mostly in the 20s. So that's pretty interesting. We can take a look at some other places around here. Just put it in the chat there if there's a place you want me to take a look at in Washington for these temperatures over the next couple weeks. So here's Bellingham, and you can see just totally in the freezer right now because of that Fraser River outflow. But Bellingham's highest temperature in the next 2 weeks in this forecast is 41 degrees. And almost all of these mornings are in the teens to mid-20s. If we take a look at some other places around the area, let's take a look at Olympia. You can see, again, a little bit warmer, but still on the cold side, all the way out through the middle of the month. Let's take a look on the coast. Here's Hoquiam. Now, this is kind of interesting because, typically the coast is on the chillier side in the winter, but it's very constant. You're usually in the mid to upper 40s pretty much every day. But this is significant for the coast when you're only getting to the mid to upper 30s, maybe right around 40 for multiple weeks with lows. Look at all of these sub-freezing lows at Hoquiam. That's pretty interesting to see because this is not an area that's used to a lot of sub-freezing temperatures. We can take a look also at somewhere like Snoqualmie Pass, and it's going to be pretty cold up there. Any snow that falls at Snoqualmie Pass isn't going to be melting within the next 3 weeks. You can see highs at Snoqualmie Pass in the 20s to low 30s, lows there single digits to the low 20s. And for anyone, if there's anyone watching in eastern Washington, we can take a look at somewhere like take a look at Moses Lake. You can see really cold there over the next few weeks there. Here we can look at Spokane. Take a look at Spokane. I mean, you got lows in the single digits possibly. Highs barely around freezing there. And even, how about Wenatchee? Here we go. Wenatchee, pretty cold as well. Just a lot of cold across the area. Let's see, we got one in the chat here. Snowing heavy in Graham for about 20 minutes, but has since stopped. Well, interesting. It looks like that band may be kind of moving off out of the Graham area. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. And then we can take a look here. Let's do... Here's Bremerton. You can see pretty cold over the next few weeks for next few days for Bremerton here, next 2 weeks basically. So yeah, it's pretty interesting to see how cold we're going to stay over the next couple weeks here. And reminder, these are just the ensembles. There are individual ensemble members that are way colder than these and way warmer than these, and this is finding the average. So sometimes it's interesting to see that when the averages are, like here we're looking at Boeing Field, when your averages of lows are in the 20s, it can sometimes be colder than that. Like these 28, 29 degree lows could be more toward 25 or so, and it's just interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how this verifies, but it's interesting to see this pattern potentially being put into place here. Paul Davis, good to see you in the chat. This weather forecast is lame. If it was a video game, I would hit reset. Well, you're down in Olympia. You might get some. You could get some snow at this deformation band setup coming on Thursday there. But yeah, if you don't like cold air and snow, this is really not a fun time for you. I'm sure for anybody in the chat who's watching. It's rare that we get snow anyway. It's just not a usual thing for us. We're used to it being like 45 and raining most of the time. And so if you don't like cold air and snow, this is probably going to be not the greatest couple of weeks for you based on some of these forecasts. But we could warm up some. There's definitely potential for that. It doesn't take much with some of the dynamics of these setups to get it much warmer instead of having the cold air. Sometimes it only takes a little change in the models for that to happen. So stay tuned, of course, to my briefings. I'll definitely be talking about that if we're looking like we're going to get warmer or if we're going to get colder. Ryan asks, when will the next big snow come? Well, that really depends on where you are. If you're out in Bellingham, parts of Whatcom County, you had a pretty big snow last night. As far as like what Ryan and what Zach is saying as well there in the chat, more of a widespread classic event. I would love to have a widespread classic event too, but it's not. That's not something we're necessarily seeing with this forecast or with this pattern. It's just not, it's got to be almost exactly right. And again, that's something I talk about in this video about the snow scenarios across western Washington. When you have a classic event, what you're kind of looking at is you want your low pressure system to move in right here around the southern Washington coast and northern Oregon coast, while you have cold air in place and like light flow out of the Fraser River gap there. And then you get a nice big deformation band that spreads up basically from like Portland all the way up through Vancouver, BC, and gives you like hours of steady snow. For those of you who remember February 2019, if you were living here at that point, that was our last major classic snow event that impacted the whole region, and that was a super interesting month of just a ton of snow. Here at my house in Federal Way, I got a total, I believe, of 16 inches that month, and a lot of places got much more than that too. But everything's got to be just right for that to happen, and unfortunately, as things, tiptoe get a little bit warmer as the climate starts to warm a little bit, it gets harder to get that really niche little thing to get lowland snow in the Pacific Northwest. It's very difficult overall, and that's why it doesn't happen for such a long time in different setups, because you got to get everything just right, and when you don't get everything just right, then unfortunately you can't get that perfect setup for lowland snow. But that's just to say that some places may get a pretty big snow event depending on how some of these things set up. I mean, European model has been showing this deformation band for a while now, really impacting areas from central King County Cascades all the way out toward Hoquiam, potentially having some areas of 5 to 6 plus inches of snow. The GFS model has been showing something similar, maybe a little bit more widespread. And then, so it's possible no one's going to be getting the big classic snowstorm. So, let's see in the chat here. Roland Connor, nice to have you in the chat. What will road conditions be like in Bellingham at noon tomorrow? Well, we can look at Bellingham right now. You can tell a lot by just looking at the temperatures. It's quite cold out there. Bellingham, mid-20s, wind chill. Currently making it feel like 8 degrees there at Bellingham International Airport. So we can look at the traffic cameras. That's the best way probably to see what the road conditions are like in Bellingham. I know that some of Bellingham got a decent amount of snow recently, but you can see I-5 looks clear there. Here's the camera at Iowa Street is not working here. How about Lakeway Drive? And you can see not a ton of snow on the ground for some parts of Bellingham. Some areas just outside of Bellingham, just to the north, got some huge snow. But you can see roads are dry in Bellingham. Any areas out here, side streets and stuff like that are wet, you're definitely going to have some problems. You go up toward the Bellingham Airport camera, you can see areas of plowed snow along the side of the road, just a few miles away from that last camera we looked at. So if you're out just up out of Bellingham a little bit, you can see here's the guide meridian. Just a couple miles north of Bellingham, and you see that you got snow on the road. That's all frozen right now, like frozen hard. So if I were in Bellingham, especially if I were to the north and the west of Bellingham, I would be very careful on the roads tomorrow, because you're going to have stuff like this where all of this snow, whether it be a little bit of snow or a lot of snow, is totally frozen, and it's probably going to be frozen for like the next 4 or 5 days and just not going anywhere. Or it just could have more snow added onto it. And then you're going to have side streets that don't have tracks on them like that and are just completely covered in snow. So be really careful out there in Bellingham. I would not be surprised to see more school delays, maybe cancellations. So, be careful out there in Bellingham tomorrow. Emma says, how are the passes looking this week? We can take a look at the European model here and see what our total snow is looking like through... Let's go through Sunday there. So you can see potential totals for Snoqualmie Pass, Stevens Pass, 7 to 10 inches. So not a very notable event for the passes. Very typical. Like if we look at Snoqualmie Pass right now, the biggest thing you're probably going to be dealing with is areas of ice. If the temperatures get cold, we'll have more snow moving through. So you're going to have some times where it's pretty snowy on the passes. But it's not going to be anything out of the ordinary. It's not going to be like one of those huge events where we're talking like multiple feet over the passes and stuff like that. Like you can see right now, East Snoqualmie Summit, the road is clear. And I think the same could probably be said for Stevens. Let's take a look at Stevens Pass. It might be a little bit more snow on the road there. Yeah, actually, no. See that Stevens Pass? It's very cold up there right now, so you just got a couple tracks in the snow, so that is a little bit more treacherous. If you're going to cross the state, Snoqualmie Pass is going to be your best bet. It's plowed the most. It is probably going to be the safest in terms of how much snow is on the road. Stevens Pass looks like it definitely has some snow on the ground, and that will definitely be really slippery, so be careful for that. You can see Mountain Pass report. It doesn't tell us the weather up there. Here's the weather station, which also doesn't tell us the weather. So we can let's go to the Mountain Passes page, and we can take a look at the temperatures here. So Stevens Pass, it's currently 22 up there. So you can see it's pretty snowy up there right now, compact snow and ice. So yeah, be careful across the passes. Nothing out of the ordinary, but it will definitely be quite cold. Well, I am going to start to wrap it up here, folks. We're going on about an hour and a half. It's been great to have all of you in the chat and watching along, asking your questions, giving me your observations. You can see we've got snow bands moving through the area. Probably over the next couple hours here, we'll see, and definitely through early morning, we're going to have snow bands moving through. We'll see where they set up and where they bring the heaviest snow. Stay tuned to my social media, which let's pull that up right here. So this is what we'll end it off on. Thank you all so much for watching. There's 4 ways you can follow me. You can follow here on YouTube. You can subscribe down below this video. I just reached 1,000 subscribers recently, so thank you all so much for making that possible. You can also follow me on Blue Sky, on Twitter, or X, whatever you like to call it, and on the Western Washington Weather Facebook group. If you're a fan of longer updates where you can also post what you're seeing at your house and have a group of folks who like to see weather and who are interested across Western Washington see it, then you can join the Western Washington Weather Facebook group. So thank you all very much for watching. It's been great to do this live stream. I hope for those of you that like snow that you are able to get some snow over the next few days. And with all of these potential setups going on with different bands of snow, heavy snow potential, I'll definitely be doing my briefings, and maybe we will do another live stream. We'll see. So thank you all for watching. Have a great night. Stay safe out there, especially on some of those snowy and frozen roads. And I will talk to you all tomorrow morning in my briefing.